So this is what I've been towing with the pickup truck. It's a towable boom. Basically, you tow it with the pickup truck. It has a basket in the back, but no, doesn't have its own power. So I hooked up the boom, and it's like -10, 16F. You know, not exactly pleasant weather to be dealing with this stuff. Oh, and this, they put this in inside the warehouse overnight because our guys, you know, knew that it would be going out, so they kept it warm.
At the roundabout, take the second exit.
And it was a nightmare to get it out because you have to use a forklift. Everything was too tight in there for my pickup truck, you know. And I asked them to take it out, so they took it out with a forklift, dropped it. I back to it, hooked it up, made sure that everything is connected.
In about 3.5 kilometers, turn right to merge onto Highway 201 North.
And sent a message to the guy and started driving. And I'm pulling into the street. I'm pulling into the street, and there's a pickup truck with a couple of guys and some ladders on the roof. And he flags me down. I said, "Is this for you?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Are you with this roofing company?" He says, "Yes, but hold on a second. That doesn't seem to be the right machine." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, we need something. It seems to be awfully small. We need, how high can it go up?" And I said, "I have no idea." Then I look at the paperwork and I said, "Well, it says 55 feet. And he says, "Well, but it's not going to work for me because I need to drive it. It has to have its own power. And," he says, "I need to put some roofing material in the basket, so it needs to be able to lift, you know, not just the operator, but the stuff, you know." He says, "Hold on, let me call my boss." So they call the boss. Then I call my dispatch, and he says, "Yeah, I just had a conversation with them. So they ordered the wrong machine." So this is the second time this happens with these towable booms. This past summer, I took it to a construction site, and the guy also like, "Wait, so how do I move it?" Oh yeah, and he says, "Drop it." That guy said, "Drop it at the entrance," because he had no idea that this is a towable machine, right? So he says, "Drop it at the entrance, I'll move it." And I look around, I don't see any pickup trucks. I said, "What are you gonna use to move it?" And he says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, the machine is, you have to tow it." He says, "What, it doesn't have its own engine?" I said, "Well, it has the engine, electric, a little motor, but it's only for going up and down. So it doesn't have, the wheels have no power." For some reason, people have a problem understanding this concept that it's a boom that you tow, and it only goes up and down by itself and rotates. So just light version of our RT boom lift, the one that has its own diesel engine. And so yeah, second time it happened. So that guy also had to call his boss, and I had to take it back, but I think I already dropped that one. At least here I got lucky that I was still hooked to the machine. I did not drop it, right? And then they told me. So my dispatch says, oh, and I have a heater. Like my second delivery was supposed to be, I have a heater in the back of the truck.
Turn right to merge onto Highway 201 North.
And I asked my dispatcher, said, "Okay, you want me to deliver the heater and then come back with the boom?" And he says, "No, where you going, it'll be a nightmare with that boom, so bring it back and then do the delivery." And then I have also a stop 3 is a pickup. I'm picking up something. I didn't look yet at the paperwork what I'm picking up. Might be scaffolding, might be a heater, might be some propane tanks, like I don't care. But I'm in the pickup truck
Past this light, then at the next one, turn
because because my Freightliner has a coolant leak, right? From last week when it was really cold. And they have the part, they ordered the part, like a little rubber piece, like a little gasket.
Use the right lane to merge onto Highway 201 North.
There's a valve at the bottom of the radiator, like an overflow valve, and it has a little gasket, and that gasket started leaking, and so they ordered the part. They have the part, but for some reason they thought that the leak stopped. And I said, no, I still see, like every morning when I show up and I warm up the truck, and then I go inside to grab coffee. So by the time I come back, I see a puddle of a red liquid on the snow. You know, like with the snow on the ground, it's real easy to diagnose these things, right? And I said, no, the leak is still there. And so when I showed up this morning, December 1st, my boss says, well, my dispatcher says, who's my boss pretty much, because he tells me what to do. Okay, take this truck, don't take that truck, do this, do this, do this. So he's my, like, immediate superior, right? That's who I work for pretty much. Even though the big boss who owns the company, I never deal with him. And then the guy who hired me, sometimes I deal with him. And so my boss says, yeah, don't take, I said, so am I doing those scissor lifts?
In about 11 kilometers.
I was supposed to.
Onto Bennington Trail toward Simon's Valley Road.
Am I doing those 2 scissor lifts? I was supposed to preload on Saturday. Remember from the previous video, they wanted me to preload scissor lifts, and they said they're in the warehouse, ready, so you can load them Monday. And so I asked the boss. I said, so do I deliver those scissor lifts? He says, no, I'll give them to the other driver. We're gonna check your Freightliner, see if it still has a coolant leak. Fuck. This is really annoying. Sorry, like this. And I keep reducing the volume. It still talks to me, you know. So basically, I need to push the button, but I'm using CarPlay, and I cannot do it without removing the hand from the steering wheel, like this freaking thing. And so, there's a sheriff next to me. What am I driving? 84 kilometers an hour. Highway patrol. Alberta sheriff. Like, we have so many different types of law enforcement, you know. So we have police, then we have peace officers, and then because there's, you know, I'm on the ring road, right, on the bypass, you see these sheriffs, because they're from the nearby counties, you know, not from Calgary, but so because the bypass is kind of like a border between Calgary and the nearby different counties, and so these sheriffs, that's what I think they're from, but they're still doing enforcement on the bypass, on the 201 Stony Trail. And the guy was looking at me. I could feel it. He was driving slow. My truck probably jerked a little bit when I grabbed the. Oh, he's stopping somebody. I knew it. So he's on a hunt. He's hunting. You see that? Pleasant disco music, disco lights. He just stopped some small Pontiac car. I don't know, was probably going too fast, or maybe he checked the plate and it showed expired or something. I don't know. But yeah, these guys are dangerous. So it's like they're getting on the road and they're just looking for trouble, you know. Or maybe why he was looking at me, because I was doing 84 kilometers an hour and the speed limit is 100. But you know, I'm towing a heavy boom. What do you want from me? Okay, now we're at 98. Cool. And so anyway, so yeah, that's kind of like a funny story, right? When people order wrong equipment, like when you go on our website, on the website of our equipment rental company, there's There's pictures, there's a description of each machine. It tells you what it is, you know. And it has a hook in the front, like the towing hook. Like, how would you drive it if you see the towing hook in the front? That's what in black letter, in big large letters, this thing is called towable boom. You have to tow it. Some people just should not be doing construction. And today is December 1st. So it's December, which is kind of like a sad month for me, because the rest of my family, they all have or had birthdays in December. So tomorrow, December 2nd, my mom, who died on October 15th this year, she would have turned 89. So she just couldn't do 2 more months and then she would have been 89. So she died at 88, right? And then December 4th is my late dad's birthday, who is 3 years older than my mom. So if she would have been 89, he would have been 92.
Use the right lane
But
and take a slight right turn to merge onto Highway 3
he died
downtown.
really young, right? He died when he was 57 in 1992. Yeah, the same year when I moved to Moscow, when I left Ukraine, and I moved to Moscow, and then 2 months later I had to fly back for his funeral. And I remember my boss, like at the time, I found a great job. It was paying 20,000 rubles, which was a lot of money. And I found a job as an assistant / translator for an Indian businessman. A guy came to Moscow to open some kind of an export-import business. And this guy didn't want me to go to the funeral. I said, what are you talking about? It's my father. I have to be there. And he was like mumbling something, you know. And I remember it was August. Yeah, it was August 1992. So I had been in Moscow for 2 months, and then I flew back to my dad's funeral, and because he was in the military, I still remember, like, it was his friends, also, you know, former pilots, showed up and stood at just lined up at did like what do you call it? Just 4 guys stood at the coffin, you know, like military style, you know, at attention. And then they changed, 4 more guys came over. It was real touching. And then my brother, who is 9 years younger, his birthday is on December 6th. And I'm debating whether to send him a card or not. You know, like I gotta email him a free birthday card. But I congratulate him last year. He said nothing on my birthday. Like, he's still not talking to me, you know, because I said I'm not talking to you. I was the first, right? When they started the war, I said, that's it. I'm not talking to you. Do not write. Do not email me. But then we had to, because of my mom's, you know, she got sick. She was in the hospital, right? But he's only giving me facts, kind of like he doesn't want to communicate. Sometimes I go to his YouTube channel just to check what he's doing. I know he sold his car. He had some financial problems. Then he had some health issues, but we're not talking. So I don't know. Shall I send him a birthday card? But it's a big date. He's turning 55. You know, 55. And I still remember when he was 7 and I was 16, and we were like wrestling all the time, and Like, he was super strong kid, you know. Like, he was beating me every time. We would just, you know, wrestle on the bed in the bedroom. And this guy, he was unbelievably strong, you know. Even at like 7 years old, it was difficult for me to wrestle him, you know, to win, you know, in a wrestling match on the bed. Of course, he's taller than me. He's taller and like huge arms, you know. So anyway, still haven't decided yet. So I have 5 days to think it over, because, you know, it's kind of like embarrassing. I sent him a postcard, and then on my birthday in January, he says nothing. You know, like I don't exist. So you don't want to talk? I don't want to talk. Well, that's what my truck looks like in the back. Bunch of casters, leveling legs. I went to pick up one order, and they said the same building, there's another company also has an order of scaffolding that's returning. So double the excitement. And here it is. A bunch of frames, half frames, like 4 big frames, 2 small frames, and I connect them together. Same here, except that it was actually this building, over there, that white building. And I had, for the second order, I had to go inside the parkade, and the sign said 6 feet 10 inches. And I had those, you know, you see these pins? The pins on top, so the pins were sticking out from those ones, and I was over 6'10", so I had to undo the strap, and so I can move them, and removed all the pins that were sticking out. But these idiots, they left outriggers connected. See those little triangles over there? Connected, and there's these, the way they're connected, you need tools to disconnect them. Like you need a wrench, which I don't have it. So it was super awkward to load. I'm gonna tell my boss to charge him labor. At least the decks were just 7 feet long, and the braces were also small, also 7 feet. Yeah, see, those are the tips, like that one over there. But I threw them in the corner there, so now of course I have to reconnect them when I'll be dropping this off at our base. And that's what the streets look like in Calgary after those 2 snowstorms. See, these are back roads, like back streets.
At the next stop sign, turn right.
Still lots of snow on the ground. And so yeah, I had to go inside that parkade, and they had gas pipes or something at the top, and that's why the sign said 610. And there was a hanging wood board at the ceiling, so if you hit it, you can hit the gas pipes. And I see that I slightly touched that board when I was going in, so I had to stop in the middle of the parkade and then carry all this stuff, probably 10 meters, what is it, 11 yards, 30 feet to my truck,
At the stop sign,
and do the same
turn
trick
right
with
onto
the
8th Avenue Northwest.
tips
Then turn left onto 14th Street Northwest.
on the frames. Otherwise, and then I had to back out of there through a narrow gate into a back alley. Man, it was really exciting. Now a funny thing happened. So when I was trying to enter into that parkade, and I was jumping in and out to make, you know, checking if my frames are gonna clear the entrance. There was like a, you know, ceiling at the entrance, and I was jumping in and out, moving like by a few inches, and then that caught the attention of some construction guy. He comes out, he says, "What are you trying to do?" I said, "Well, I'm picking up that scaffolding over there." And he says, "Well, go." I said, "Well, I don't want to hit the ceiling." And I realized he was talking with some kind of like familiar accent. And I realized it was Russian, because when he was walking away, he started swearing in Russian, basically saying bad things about me. You know, I wanted to catch up with him and knock him down with a pipe, but I couldn't find a big enough pipe, you know, to hit him. So I said, I didn't say anything, did not react, but I could hear what he was saying in Russian.
In about 3.5 kilometers, turn right.
Like I said, I don't want to. All I said was, I need to get in there because I don't want to carry scaffolding 100 meters. And the guy like, "Go, then go." And then he started swearing. And Why are you swearing at me? I don't know. So basically,
Stay in the left 2 lanes.
it's one of those cases when we think that people don't understand you, but it's funny that a Russian is swearing at another worker without realizing that I'm Russian too. Stupid, you know? So anyway, back to base. And I think I'm gonna be there 8 minutes to 11. Perfect, time for lunch break. One of the customers I delivered the equipment to had this nice 1982 Dodge Ram. I said, can I take a picture? He said, yeah, sure, this is my new work truck. I said, engine? He says, V8, of course.